This conference will now be recorded.
मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रागादिरोगान् सततानुषक्तान् अशेषकाय प्रसृतान् अशेषान् औत्सुक्यमोहारदिदान् जघान यो पूर्ववैद्याय नमोऽस्तु तस्मै. So, namaskaram to all of you. In our previous session, we completed the shloka Bhojanam Trunakeshadijushtam Ushnigritam Punah Shaka Avaranna Bhuishtam Atyushna Lavanam Tyaje, that we completed in our last session. So in this Atyushna Lavanam, Adhyushnam, Adhilavanam, as you may be knowing, this Lavanam is coming into the menu in many forms. We are in that second line, we find Shagam, Avaranna Bhuishtam, Atyushna Lavanam, Adhyushnam. Adhyushnam can be of two types, Adhyushna Viryam and Adhyushnigritam. Very hot to touch, boiled, heated, fried, which are very hot at the time of consumption. So such stuffs are to be avoided. And there is Lavanam, Adi Lavanam. We may not be knowing that Lavanam is a big spectrum. We find in our classics only a few, like maybe the Panchalavanam or something like that. Whereas it is a big list these days. Salts of many types, and some of them are added as taste makers, some of them are added as preservatives. Salts are used as preservative as even in our bottled kashayam, we are adding some sort of a salt. There can be acid salts, alkaline salts, whatever it is, depending upon the situation, many salts are added. Even in this soft drink, as you may be knowing, is a huge industry, and children and young adults mainly, they are the target group of that particular industry. And many types of salts are added in it, which are having the sort of capacity to make the user addicted to it. So you sip one bottle of a drink, a soft drink, then you feel like taking more. One, by the effect of the salt, and second, by the presence of salt. In no time you feel again thirsty. So that way, I think then these sort of preserved food items, they contain many salts. Then this processed foods and different types of chips, which are mainly targeting the children. Many chips which are coming in the market ready to eat, they contain many types of salt. So this the Atyushna Lavanam, that Adi Lavanam, is not a simple thing. These days, the authors, Vagbhada or Charaka, might not have even imagined that the Lavanam will be getting into the menu in different forms, different types, and different names in the of the modern man. So they are to be properly understood and properly assessed. Otherwise, we will be thinking that okay, they are talking about the Panchalavana, so we are not taking Panchalavana. And even in the so-called common salt, curry salt or whatever it is, common salt what we use, it is getting manipulated, no, with this iodized salt. Then many things are added in it again. Maybe some 20-30 years back, salt used to melt when put in the normal room temperature, exposed to the normal weather. When we place maybe a small piece of crystal, a few crystals of common salt, maybe on your dining table or so, after a couple of hours when you come, there will be water around. This salt is actually melting and generating some liquid substance on the table. But the free flow salt what we get these days, they do not melt that way. They never become clogged. And for that also, again, various types of salts are added into it. So even when we are using the so-called innocent common salt, it is not so innocent in its nature. Many added things are there in even in the common salt. So atyushna lavanam tyajed. So that also should be kept in mind. And you may also remember that lavanam is the ushnatama rasa, ushnatama, and it has capacity to destabilize, make asthira. Whatever sthira bhavas are there, it can make it asthira. It has got the capacity to create vishyanda, abhishyanda, utklesha. That is why we positively use it for sadhya snehana. Yecha lavanodbana. It has got the capacity to bring quick utklesha avastha. So when this adilavanam is getting into the body, the dhadus become asthiram, shithilam, slatham, and the drava dhadus, they tend to go to a pagavastha very easily, rasam raktam, and sthira dhadus become slatham. So all these aspects are to be considered in this in the context of lavana. Then next we find, so this is written as tyajed. The word used is tyajed. It is ideally avoided. It is ideally avoided. Tyajed is the word used. Then next we find kilada dadi pujiga kshara shukta amamulakam krisha shushka varahavi gomalsya mahishamisham masha nishpava shaluga visa pishta virudhagam shushka shagani yavagan bhanidam cha na shilayed. So here we find a list which is advised as na shilayed. Na shilayed means na abhyased. You may use it occasionally, like maybe some situation where it is going to be the only available food, or on a special occasion where this is served. Many a times it happens, no? So you are also supposed to have a share of out of it. On such situations, okay, you may take it highly occasionally, but Na abhyased. Na abhyased. Na shilayed means na abhyased. Which are the na abhyased list? Kilada dadhi kujika. Dadhi kujika. Kshara shukta amamulakam. Kshara shukta amamulakam. Then krisha shushka varaha avigomalsya mahisha amisham. Amisham. Varaha avi go malsya mahisha amisham of krisha or shushka type. Then masha nishpava shaluga visapishta virudagam shushka shagani yavagan bhanitam cha na shilayed. So we find many things. Kiladam, dadhikujika, they are kshira vikaras. We find it in Dravadravya Vijnaniyam. Vaidya Kilada Piyusha Kurchika Moranadayaha. That Kurchika is here written as Kujika, same. They are having some benefits. They are all Shukra Nidra Kabhakara. Shukra Kara, Nidra Kara, Kabhakara. Vishtambhi Guru Doshala. Vishtambhi Guru Doshalah. They are Vishtambhi, something which causes Vishtambham. Guru, which is very difficult to digest. Doshalah. Doshalah means Amasanchayakarinah. Doshalah. Because generally we tend to explain it as doshala, something which increases dosha. But it is not needed because it's already specified as kabhakara. So you cannot expect them to be vadakara or pittakara. It is kabhakara. They are all kabhakara. So beyond that, there is no need of a doshala for unspecific explanation. So Hemadri comments it as it means that it is amasanjayakarinah. So that sort of a kshira vikaras, kilada, dadhi kujika. We have learned, we have gone through these aspects when we were discussing Dravadravya Vijnaniyam. I think so. We covered that chapter, I think so. Otherwise, we should have some idea. This Kuchika is a product made like, see, it is of two types. That is the first thing, Dadhi Kuchika and Takra Kuchika. Dadhi Kuchika, to Dadhi, we add some milk and heat it. Then immediately that will be denatured. That curd, Dadhi, and adding Kshiram, you heat it, immediately it will change its form. What will happen? There will be there will be a collection of many solid part which will be thick, and this thick part will be floating in a watery part which is very thin. So immediately, it is not like making curd by curdling the milk overnight. Immediately it changes its form. That is known as kuchika, and this can be made with dadhi as well as takra. When it is made with dadhi, it is known as dadhi kuchika. When it is made with takram, it is takra kuchika. They are having different qualities. Even though generally kuchika result is given, they are having two different. This takra kuchika, if I am right, I think it is vadavarthakam. So here it is specifically mentioned that dadhi kuchika and kiladam is there. Kiladam. Kiladam is from this kuchika. If you filter the kuchika and separate that solid part, that floating in the liquid part, filter it and remove that solid part. That solid part is known as kiladam. Kiladam is that solid part, whereas that liquid part is known as moradam. That is moradam. So here only two are mentioned: kiladam, dadhikujika, na shilayed. So maybe occasionally used. So what about the others? It is not mentioned. So I think generally they may not be in a highly fashionable use. That could be the reason. Anyway, that is not mentioned here. Then ksharam. Ksharam, it is not advised as tyajed but nashilayed. Nashilayed. Don't use daily ksharam. Then amamulagam. Amamulagam nashilayed. Regarding the mulagam, you all know that okay, bala mulagam is having good property, ama mulagam is not like that. They are in different forms they are used. To be very honest, I am not very sure whether they are used these days very often with the sense of discrimination. I'm not very sure. In this part, we very rarely use it. It is not very popular, I think. I understand. Then Krisha Shushka Varahavi Gomalsya Mahishamisham. A list of Amisham. Amisham is Mamsa. Varaha Avi Go Malsya Mahishamisham. And that all these Mamsam may be connected with the Krisham and the Shushka. Shushka means maybe dried and preserved that way, without any other additives. Dry the meat and preserve it, keep it. Krisham means from an animal which is having karshyam, krishata. So such this mamsam, which includes malsya mamsam as well, the mamsam of malsyam as well. So na shilayed, na abhyased. Don't take it don't include it in your everyday menu, but occasionally that is fine. So maybe seasonally, occasionally, like that, it can be used. Fine. Then Masha, many of these stuffs, I think maybe even in certain areas. For example, I can say this Shushka Malsyam, dried fish. That is a very commonly used stuff in here in Kerala. I know that it is a very commonly used stuff. Similarly, there are some areas where this mamsam will be kept as shushka, dried and kept intact, dried meat. So I think according to the seasonal availability, these sort of stuffs are kept dried. Drying itself is a method of preservation so that it can be used in such seasons where it is not naturally available. Like that, we preserve. So such preserved, dry preserved stuffs may not be used every day. Nashilayed. Masham, Nishpavam, Shalukam, Visam, Pishtam, and Virudhagam Nashilayed. Masham, that is the black gram. So Masham, these days, it is very liberally used. In the southern part of the country, generally the breakfast is either dosha or idli in most of the city dwellers in the urban settings. And interestingly, that will be used as pishtam as well. So it is masham as well as pishtam. Both are supposed to be avoided from the daily list of foodstuffs. And again, this pishtam is not even pishtam for that day's use. For the entire week, the batter made out of this masham and rice will be made, and that will be kept in the refrigerator, and every day the required quantity will be taken, and the breakfast will be prepared. Sometimes even the dinner also will be prepared with the same batter, and days together. So we have to look into these minor, small things. They are all small things. But when it is a practice, when you are making this a habit, I think you cannot avoid the significance of such practices while assessing certain vyadhyavasthas, the so-called lifestyle diseases, like maybe the heart disease, or diabetes, hypertension, or hypercholesterolemia, obesity. So when you are looking into this wide spectrum of lifestyle diseases or disorders, even such minor aspects, they gain significance. Masham, nishpavam, another vegetable. I think, I do not know whether it is so commonly used. It is used, not uncommon, but I do not know whether it is that common like masham. Shalugam. Shalugam is a this tuber, type of tubers, which are widely used, not very rare. They are also widely used, but generally seasonal. It is not, need not be available in all the seasons, but not very rare as well. Shalugam. Then visam. So that shalugam also should not be used on a regular basis. Should not be used on a regular basis. They comes under the root is, I hope everybody will be knowing it. Its root is used generally. It comes under this colocasia. That group is generally known as colocasia. So this is coming under that group. Then visam. Visam is again is a vegetable which is very common in some part of the country, especially in the extreme north, in Jammu. My one of my friends was working in Jammu, and he used to say that okay, it is very common in Jammu, this bisam, as a even as a regular stuff. So they may be sometimes this sapmya may be helping, but as a general rule, this is not supposed to be included in the daily menu. Then pishtam, which we already mentioned. Virudhagam is generally explained as the sprouts. In the outlook of nutrition, I think most of these things are very rich. Masham, Nishpavam, Shalugam, all these things are very rich in their nutritional perspective. And here we find that such nutritionally celebrated items are kept away from your daily menu. That is very important. Interestingly, if you go through that Avarannam, in each group, the Avaram, they will be very rich generally in their this nutritional value. So that is very interesting. So the Ahara Tattvam in Ayurveda is not just based on the stuff alone, about the nutritional value alone, but it is based on the way in which the dhadus, the doshas, the system as a whole is going to respond, whether to accept it, how comfortable it will be, how easily they can be digested. how easily they can be transformed to the dhadus, and what will be the amount of dhatu kshobham which these stuffs are going to create, and whether they will be becoming viruddha to the dhadus or the srotas. So all these things are taken into consideration in the ahara tattva. It is not just about the nutritional value. So it is not just dravyasritam. It's not just dravyasritam. It is about the agni, sharira, koshta, prakriti, satmya. All these things are also taken into consideration. So that is very important. Fine. Then shushka shakani. Shushka shakani. Generally, shagam we saw in our previous list that shaga bhuishtam annam tyajed. But annam which is not shaga bhuishtam, but definitely which contains shagam, that can be used. But when you are preparing shagam, that should not be shushka shagam. Shushka shagam is not dried shagam, but shagam which is prepared without sneham. So shushka, whenever you are preparing shakaharam, there should be sneha added to it. So without that sneha, that is some sort of a value addition to the shakahara. Without that value addition, it is known as shushka shagam. Generally, shushka shagam is not included in the daily menu. Nashilayed. Yavakan. Yavakam is a type of grain which is coming in the that Annaswarupa. We already saw it. Then Bhanitam. Bhanitam is an Ikshuvikara. Bhanitam is an Ikshuvikara, which is having the Malasanchayakara property. So generally that is also not included in the daily menu. So here we find some examples. Interestingly, many of these things may not be in the daily usage in any part of the country. Invariably, I think you cannot expect all of them to be there in the common use. But meantime, many other things are already there. So we should have some idea to make things contemporary. To make things contemporary. So we should get the idea behind this sort of inclusion, omission, and restrictions. So here you find what the Arunadatta is commenting on it. Tatha kiladadin na shilayed na abhyased na kadajilkah abhyavaharah esha nishidhyate. Occasional use is permitted. Muninatu Charaka says, Nabhyased Gauravad iti yatha hedu upanyasta tatha iha noktaha ayuktatvad. So, Nabhyased Gauravad. So, these stuffs generally they are all Guru, but it is not because of the Gaurava that they are restricted. It is not because of the Gaurava. Tadha iha nauktaha. This author Vakbhada is not saying that these are all guru, that is why they are to be avoided. It is not so. Why? Ayuktatvad. That does not look logical. Why? Tadha hi esham anabhyavahare yadi gurutvam hedu syad tado gudayavadinam abhi bahudaranam dravyanam sheelanam ayuktam syad. There are many other stuffs which are in daily use, which are strongly recommended for daily use. Meantime, which are all guru as well. So if it is just because of the gurutva, they also should have been excluded or restricted. So that is not the reason. So what is the reason? Tasmad esham ashilane anyadapi karanam chindyam. Tasmad esham ashilane anyadapi karanam chindyam natu gurutva matrameva. It is not just based on the gurutvam. Yatha. Now he is trying to understand this list of items in a detailed way. Khilada doshalatvam, which I already mentioned, that they are having the doshalatvam property. They are doshalam. So that doshalatvam is the reason why they are restricted here. And already we explained what is doshalaha, amasanjayakarinaha. Daddhanaha tu jvaradi kartrutvam tadha srodolepaha. We have seen that if Dadhi is used on a daily basis, that can cause a big list of diseases which we have seen in Dravadravya Vijnaniya. Then it can cause Jvaradi Kartrutvam Tatha Srodolepanam. That is a big problem. Srodolepatvad cha anega roga hedutvam. Dadhi has got anega roga hedutvam. Then Ksharasya Pumstvahani Krutvam. Kshara is excluded because it has it has got the risk of Pumstvahani Krutvam. Shuktam. Shuktam, we mentioned it. Shukta Amamulagam. Shuktam is a Sandhana Vishesha, which is prepared, a way in which food is preserved. Using this Shuktam, many things are preserved. I think this vinegar type of things, they are coming in that group, vinegar. Then Shuktasya Drishtihandritvad. Shuktam is restricted because of its Drishtihandritva. Tasmad esham apathyatvad shilana nishedho bodhyaha. So we can take certain points from this. Number one, doshalatvam. Any foodstuff which can cause amasanjayam, they should not be put in your daily menu. Then srodolepatvam. Any stuff which can cause srodopalepam, they should not be included in your daily menu. Then viruddhatvam. Anything which can be viruddham to the dhadus or srotas, they should not be included in the daily menu. That pumstvahanitvakrit, all these things are because of the dhadu nashakatva. Then avayava nashakatva, many stuffs which is having avayava nashakatvam, like this drishtihandritvam. Sometimes certain stuffs may be yagrinnashakatvam, hrinnashakam, vrkanashakam. Certain stuffs can be like that. So such things shall be avoided from daily use. So with this concept, we should try to understand the stuffs which we are there in our popular use. There may be many. See, we already saw that list of that soft drinks or chips, ready to eat pizza or whatever it is, which is there, which is not even satmya. Then milkshakes, lays, kurkure, many things which are popular these days. Then many types of chocolate bars. Previously chocolates were coming in small packets. Now the chocolates are coming in big bars. So all these stuffs should be evaluated in this context, whether they are causing dosha sanjayam, ama sanjayam, they are causing srodhopalepatvam, they are having the potential of being viruddha, whether they are causing avayavanasha or srodhonasha, then such things should not be included in the daily menu. So that way, we have to update this information so as to suit it to the current scenario. People will be coming to you, you will be treating them, you will be prescribing certain do's and don'ts. So when you say don't, you also have the responsibility to suggest the do's as well, not only the don'ts. So you should have a good idea. Vaidya is not supposed to be just a prescribing agent. It's not a prescribing agent. You should have a broad idea about aushadha, ahara, and vihara. Unfortunately, we tend to be more inclined towards aushadha. This ahara and vihara, we are forgetting. So that should not happen. That is why we have this chapter here. Then, having said this, there is a question then what should be included in this shilana, abhyasana. So we find the next sloka. Shilaye chali godhuma yava shashtiga jangalam. Yava shashtiga jangalam. Sunishannaga jivandi balamulaga vastugam. Sunishannaga jivandi balamulaga vastugam. Pathyamalaga mridviga padoli mudga shakkara hrida divyodaga kshira kshaudra dadima saindhavam. Shilayed shali godhuma yava shashtiga jangalam. Shali, then godhumam, yavam, shashtigam, they are all coming under this our grains, dhanyam. Then jangalam, jangalamamsam. Now we find sunishannam, sunishannakam, jivanti, balamulagam, vastugam. These are all the members of the Shaga family. Pathya, Amalakam, Mridviga, Padoli. So they come as even as we know that Pathya is Abhaya. So Pathya, how do you eat Pathya on a daily basis? We will come to it. We will come to it. How these things are. Amalagam, okay, fine. Mridviga, they are fruits at least. Amalagam and Mridviga, okay. They eat one Amalagam daily. Okay, it seems to be a possible one, even as a food. But taking Pathya as a food is very quite difficult. Then Mridviga, fine, perfect. Padoli. Then Mudgam. So from that list we find Mudga only here. From the Shimbi Dhanya. In the Shuga Dhanyam we find few others. Then Sharkara. Sharkara in this list means the sugar. But again, I think sugar is notorious many a times. Not famous. It is notorious as white poison. Because by repeated bleaching, it is becoming more and more pure chemically, and when it is becoming more and more pure chemically, it is becoming more and more harmful to the body which is not that pure. So Sharkara is included here with the context of making sharkara that way only. It is not, need not be the sharkara what we consume today. It is not that highly bleached sharkara, but less bleached and more natural. Then kridam. Kridam is supposed to be one stuff which is to be used daily basis. Shilayed, abhyased, divyodagam. Divyodagam, divibhavam, something which you collect while it rains. That comes from the heavens, from the sky. Divyodagam. So that shows that there was a habit of this rainwater harvesting even from that time. Because you cannot expect the Divyodagam all through the year. It is seasonal. So the seasonal water you use to store. So there is a harvesting of the Divyodagam. Then Kshiram. Again, Kshiram is supposed to be Amrit. In it quality wise, it is similar to Amrita. But if the Kshiram what you are getting these days is equivalent to Amritam is a question. You cannot expect to be so. Because these are all some sort of a products of biotechnology. There is hardly anything natural in the Kshiram what you get these days. And the other day, I happened to see a couple, an aged couple, who came to me to consult that male of that couple. He had some long-standing issues, so they came to me, and I could not make them out. And I prescribed the medicine, suggested the do's, suggested the don'ts, and everything. So they were happy. Then at the end, they were telling me how did they come again, because they had visited me some 15 years ago. Afterwards, they are staying outside India, maybe some Singapore or something like that. So they're coming after 15 years, and this lady was telling me that, okay, I had a very bad asthma for which I had tried everything. And at last, by some way or the other, with some strange reference, I came to you at that time, 15 years back. You did not prescribe much of the drug. I think you suggested some Trigadu Churnam or something like that, and insisted that you avoid all milk products compulsorily. It was quite difficult for me. I thought I could never quit the milk and milk products, but I did it because I was done with the suffering of the Shwasa. And interestingly, after that, I never ever had that Shwasa Vigara. So that is how we all again came 15 years back. So I am supposed to give you a namaskaram for that also. So I'm giving that namaskaram as well. So I was surprised after treating the swasam with many medicines from many centers, just by avoiding the milk and milk products, that lady got out completely of her swasam. So that also should be kept in mind. Kshiram is supposed is explained or extolled as Amritam, but it should be good quality Kshiram, one part. Second, the person who is consuming it should be Arha. Kshira Arhata should be there. So that is what I was mentioning. When you see all these stuffs, they are excellent. While they are placed on our table, on the tabletop, all these stuffs are excellent. But when they are put into the costum, when they are encountering the Agni, then many subjective influences, of which the first one is the Arhanarhata. Kshiram is excellent, but the question is whether you are Arha for that or not. That is not the problem of Kshira. Of course, these days there are problems with the Kshira itself. Anyway, forget it. Then Kshaudram, The same case. Kshaudram is excellent. Kshaudram is supposed to be the master Kabhara Dravya. And the Suddha Kshaudram is even used liberally in Prameya. But if you use the Kshaudra which is available in the market these days, you will not get the sort of Kabhakshaya. Your Prameha will skyrocket like anything. And apart from all these things, you may also get damage your system with the pesticides, pesticide residues. So when we are using Chaudram, what you are getting, number one, again, for what you are arha, these are also to be considered. That is the duty of the Yuktikna Vaidya. You cannot blame the textbook for not mentioning that, okay, you did not warn me that it should not be given to this person. It is already there. Then Dadimam. Dadimam is supposed to be a very good fruit, bhalam, generally, which can be used in almost all situations. In as even in Vyadhi Kshina, we find this Dadimam. Dadimam is explained as two types, Amla Dadimam and Swadu or Madhura Dadimam. I do not know whether there is Amla Dadimam is available these days. Whatever I have seen these days is Madhura Swadu Dadimam. Maybe in some part of the country there may be the agriculture or growing of this Amla Dadimam. If some information is there, please share. Then Saindhavam. Saindhavam also is a hot bread these days, because if you look at see, everything is available online these days, no? So this has also become a fad these days. This Saindhavam. I do not know whether it is Saindhavam or not, but if you look at the online market, you will find, okay, many types of Himalayan rock salt. That way, many brands are available these days for which they are charging like anything, you know, one kg Himalayan rock salt, you may be forced to pay sometimes 500 rupees for a kilo of salt or something like that. I just wonder where this if Gandhi was living at this point of time, definitely there will be another satyagraha for this for saving this right, for our rights on using this Saindhava. It is a hot bread in the online market these days, this rock salt. Anyway, it is advised for daily use. I do not know whether you are getting the type of Saindhavam which you are supposed to get. So we find a list here. शीलयेद शाली गोधूम यव षष्टिगजांगलम सुनिषण्णग जीवन्दी बालमूलग वास्तुगम पथ्यामलग मृद्वीगा पडोली मुद्ग शर्करा कृद दिव्योदक क्षीर क्षौद्र दाडिम saintham. So when you make a comparison, what is the difference? Why certain things are restricted? Why certain things are avoided? Why certain things are advised? You should have a broad idea about what is the intention. Basic intention is to maintain, of course, the nutritional value is very important. Maintain an optimum nutrition is of utmost importance. But at the same time, this is a general statement. We may remember that in general conditions, Dravya is divided into Shamanam, Kopanam, Swastahitam. So when something is advised for daily use, ideally it should be Swastahitam. That is where the Arha and Arhata, everything is becoming relevant. If you are not a Swasta, then many of these things need not be the rule. Many of these advices need not be the rule for you. So in this case of a Swasta, it should not be either Shamanam or Kopanam. It should be maintaining the status of the dhadus. The other day we saw one beautiful explanation in Sangraha. Yad aharajadam samadhadun anuvartayadi vishamamscha samigarodi tal samasato hitam. So there are two halves in that definition. Number one, samadhadun anuvartayadi, that is swasthahitam. So you can opt for swasthahitam in swastha. If you are not a swastha, then you should go for such foods which is vishamamscha samigarodi, where you require a Vaidya, the help of a Vaidya or a dietitian. So every advice is not meant for everyone. All these are conditional clauses. And as far as swastha is concerned, maintenance of Agni Shomiyam, maintenance of Agni Shomiyam is the rule. So it is the maintenance of the balance between Kabha and Pitta. It is the art of maintaining the balance between Shida and Ushna, Dvandvam. That way, it even indicates to maintain the consistency of Raktadhadu. Raktadhadu is having the function of Jivanam. So in the Swastha, when this Pathya is advised, Shilayed or Tyajed or Nabhyased, intention is to maintain that Jivana capacity of Rakta, and that Rakta is a balanced buffer of Agni and Soma, Shida and Ushna. So that is the core principle behind this. With that concept, with that principle in mind, we should work on the contemporary, like the dietary practices, eating principles, eating practices. Then only we will be able to make the Siddhanta working in the current society. So that is our responsibility. Okay, anyway, now it is not concluded. We are continuing. What is it? Tribhalam madhusarpirbhyam nishi netrabalaya cha shilayed. So netra is given a special importance here. Nishi netrabalaya madhusarpirbhyam tribhalam cha shilayed. Apart from all these things, for giving a special care for netra, you may take tribhalam madhusarpirbhyam cha. So with that cha, you can include many other stuffs which will make sure the swasthya of other indriyas as well. Sometimes some of them may be already covered. You have to take care of your Shrotrendriya. So something which suits, if there is a practice of that sort, that also can be included. If there is a practice of improving the strength of Ghanendriya, okay, that also may be included. But interestingly, many of them are not food stuffs, but other practices. Karna Puranam or Karna Bhyangam, Nasyam, all these things are included in the Dinacharya. So they are also covered. In that also we find the Savvira Manjanam Nityam Hidamakshnoho, but additionally Tribhalam Madhusarpirbhyam Nishinetra Balaya Cha, so that with that Cha, you apart from whatever is listed in the previous slokas, you may take Tribhala with Madhusarpis for Netra Balam. And again, what else is there in regular practice which will take care of other indriyas, they also may be included. So that is one point. Then in the next line we find swasthyanuvrittikrit yacha. Yadcha swasthyanuvrittikrit tacha shilayed. swasthya anuvritti krita. Swasthya anuvritti krita. Such a word we find earlier. Yatra tatra yad aharajadam samadhadun anuvartayadi. So samadhadun anuvritti anuvartayadi. Here swasthya anuvritti, swasthya anuvartanam, dhatu anuvartanam. So swasthahitam, anything else which is relevant, like there are many things which are advised according to the ritu. So sometimes here we find, okay, chaudram is advised, but that chaudram you cannot use in grishma. So even if it is included here as shilayed, when this principle is put in the extreme summer season, you have to avoid that chaudram. Similarly, many other things can be included, many other things can be avoided. That is why swasthyanuvrittikrit. That means taking leads from chapters like Dinacharya and Rutucharya, especially Rutucharya, and also Roganutpadaniyam. You can take, you can improvise these suggestions. Then Rogochedakaram Chayad. Rogochedakaram, something which can take care of the threats from diseases. So this advice, does it mean for a vyadhita or a swastha? There is a question. Because those stuffs which can take care of certain diseases, that also may be included, is given. So whether it is for a vyadhita? No. Here that rogochedakaram means it is some sort of a preventive practices. Apart from ahara, certain aushadha dravyas are also advised, which will prevent some seasonal outbreaks, some seasonal vyadhis, some sort of agandu vyadhis, some sort of adhikarshajanya or adhistaulyajanya type lifestyle diseases. That is how we find a representation of pathya here. That pathya is an example for this rogochedakaram cha yad. So that also may be shilayed, practiced on a regular basis. So here also we will find a big list of swasthanuvrittikrityacha rogochedakaram cha yad, and the big industry called the nutraceuticals and supplements, they survive on this single line. Swasthanuvrittikrityacha rogoche. So that swasthanuvrittikrityacha rogochedakaram jayad is a line which you find in Ayurvedic texts. Ayurvedic people do not understand the meaning, and other people very easily grasp this point, and it has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. We read this again and again, but do not get the crux of the sentence, and we leave it as such. This is some old story having no relevance these days. That is what is happening. One line developing into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Swasthanuvrittikrityacha rogochedakaram cha yad. With that, I think we will stop today's session. If something is there to be shared by our delegates, our participants today, most welcome. Otherwise, we will stop here. Thank you.
Hello, sir. I'm Nilesh sir student, and actually he's not available right now. So should we continue with the questions or should we conclude for today?
We can, if there are, I think only one or two points in the chat box, we may attend it.
Okay, sir. So the first question is, how can we manage here with this list? We don't have Amalak, Dadima, Jivanti or Shali even. Divya Udak is prohibited for use in France.
That is a nice question. That is what I'm saying. You see, this is udaharana matram. This is udaharana matram. You need not follow whatever is given here. You take whatever is available in your locality, your climatic zone and your country, and work on the principles. That is why I explained what is the principle behind it. That is why I gave the concept of Jivanam. That is why I gave the concept of Agni Shomiyam. That is why I gave details of Shamanam, Kopanam, Swasthahidam. So taking those principles as the background or the foundation, you make fresh list about the stuffs which are available in your place and make a this Shilana list, Abhyasana list, Nabhyased list, and Tyajed list. Then things will be fine. Okay. There are no more questions, I think, or points to discuss. If somebody is having something to share, please come up with that point so that our entire day will be enriched.
Sir, I am Ashwin.
Yes, Ashwin, tell me.
Sir, yes, we are in high rainfall area and it's called Malenadu, high rainfall area. In our area, I usually, when we find people who are practicing like dadi, masha, and chickpeas and cashew nut, and also the rices which are smeared with the oil, like we use here lemon rice in palav, ghee rice. That's such a type of food that causes an extreme and very high possibility of Agni Dushti in our place. And it is a very good experience for last maybe around 12, 13 years. Whenever we suggest an change in this type of food practices, the maybe around 30 to 40% of the condition will be brought just into control, just with the of advising not to take certain food and advising what to take in the right way. So this is very evident in our place, and also people who come from the north part of Karnataka, certain food articles, the same which we say here not to consume, if they consume, there won't be any problem because of the Desha influence.
Oh, okay, okay.
So the here in our place, the Abhishandikaraka articles which are mentioned in this also, and also some of the food articles which we commonly use in this place. Whenever we find a change, maybe around 40% of the medicine is just the avoiding certain food articles which are causing the Agni Dushti directly.
Oh, okay. Very important. Very important. Everybody
And
will
also,
have something like this.
yes. And also this Matsya from sea and Matsya from the river, that is a big difference. As we know, the Lavana Bhuishtatva will be there in the Amisha of the Matsya, which is there in the from the sea. So that causes many of the Abhishandikaraka Vikaras. Whenever we ask them to avoid it, then there is a very good response from the individual with the disease also. And also, whenever I also give good I mean, for most of the people who eat meat, I ask them to avoid the gravy of the meat, whatever they prepare. So the gravy at present, in the present situation, adding with the that masala and also the oil. Now the oil itself is very much adulterated. So oil and masala avoided. It can be very, because if we ask them not to eat meat, people will not be able to follow our advices. So eat meat, maybe the piece of the meat, not the gravy. That gives a very, very good result in the people who are eating meat. And also we will be able to minimize the damage which the meat consumption will be causing in the individuals. So this is
Correct.
good for, I think, in any place, people who come from any part of Karnataka or from any place, if this suggestion works very well, because the most of the things will be extracted into that gravy, and the gravy is the most big culprit because of the adulterations, chemicals, and all these added preservatives or added chemicals or something like that. So
Okay.
meat consumption also they will be taking, but we discourage maybe if they are taking 3 times, ask them to take 2 times, and the gravy is avoided. Maybe 50% or 60% of this type of meat consumption problems also we can address with uh, this suggestion I usually give, and it works very, very good. People will able to follow it, and they are eating meat, but with a reduced damage what the it can do for the dhatus.
Okay. 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 Yes.
And the cashew nut is one thing which I find in our place, it is a very vidahi karaka. Once it enters the system, it causes most problems. That is the problem with the cashew nut. So that is one thing, something which I find it is maybe beneficial for somebody who might be practicing in their clinics.
Yes. Yes. The modern day diet is, I think, caused a lot of damage to the health of the public
Yes,
at large.
yes, yes, yes,
Many times there is no, the word what we use generally is the prajnaparadham, isn't it? So the
yes,
prajna means the sort of intelligence that any person should have about his or her health.
yes,
And
sir.
food has become the biggest prajnaparadham these days. No
True, sir.
element of intelligence at all. Mm.
Yes,
Just surrendering to the call of the tongue, the rasanendriya.
yes, yes, sir.
Nothing else.
And
Very,
also treating a disease with the medicine that has come to the fore, and Yukti Vipashraya became the main line of treatment without any Sattva Vajaya or any kind of such advisors. Or before advising, we should have that idea of what it is.
yes, yes,
When the
yes.
medicine has become the least level of practicing, became the
Mm,
highest level of practicing, treating the body with the material medicine has become the most dominant one.
mm, mm,
So
mm.
to make the sattva vajaya for the clients, we should have the first sattva vajaya for about our own indriyas. The Vaidya should have the, we should
Yes,
have,
yes.
you know,
True, true. Vaidya
without
should
that,
not
yes, sir.
teach what he is not practicing. Mm.
So, yes, true. If we are not Jitendriya for that subject, then our advices people will not be able to follow, or it does not make any impression on the sattva of the individual who is listening to us.
Mm, mm. True.
Sir, other day you have told about we could not able to hear your words. Shaka bhuyishtatva. Why? What might be the reason why it is suggested that it should not be practiced?
Yeah, see, Shakam is generally not Balyam. That is a
Hmm.
problem. So when you are used to have Shaga Bhuishtannam, it is, see, three things. Number one, Doshadhadum ala Moolam Sadadehasya. Number
Hmm.
two is Vruddhi Samane Sarvesham Vipariter Viparyeha, isn't it? And
Yes, sir.
when we mix these two things, we find to the third point that, okay, Mamsam is having the closest possible proximity with the Sharira Dhadus than Shaka because of the
Hmm.
Samanata. So,
Yes,
as
sir.
far as Bala is concerned, if you make a comparison, Mamsam is superior than Shaka.
Hmm.
And wherever there is a crisis, whenever there is a crisis, especially in terms of Bala and Ojas, immediately you will find that this Mamsarasam is advised. Balam
Yes.
hyalam doshaharam param tacha balapradam. That remark is about Mamsarasam. You remember that line from Jaram.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that
Yes.
way, Shakaharam is not supposed to be the best food as far as Balam is concerned. We are following, many people are not eating mamsam, we are following this vegetarianism for reasons which are other than medical.
True.
Mean, see, this Vagbhada, we can find mentioning this in two different ways. In Raja Yakshma Jigilsidam, we will find Mamsameva Ashnado Yuktya, Madhvigam
Mm.
Pibadoncha, Mamsameva Ashnataha. That is one point.
Mm.
Whereas in the
Mm.
another point, definitely he will mention Varo Bhuda Daya Dharma.
Yes, sir.
So you have to find a balance in between. Got my point?
True. Yeah, I got it, sir.
Yes, that is it.
And also about this now the famous Trunadanya situation.
Mm.
That is becoming another very famous, I think, product of selling. And
Yes.
we are also coming across many people who are having something like an year or 2 years of practicing with that Siddhidanya. They are
Mm.
coming with a lot of deficiency diseases now. And also, so it became Siddhidanya or Trunadanya, Alpadanya mainly because of its influence over the dhatus, because that's why it was not included in the Pradhana Danya.
Mm.
Now the Pradhana Dhanya is so much adulterated that the Siridhanya or Trunadhanya itself becomes, it looks like little more superior than the Pradhana Dhanya. And
You see, all these aspects, the Desha, Kala, discrimination, that should be, that is why I'm saying that Pratnya should work.
yes,
Otherwise, you will, you know, this bagpiper. The
yes,
bagpiper runs the show and all the rats just follow them. There is no Pratnya in it.
yes, sir. True.
Similarly, some nutraceutical company or some multinational company that plays
Yes,
the bagpipe and we follow, we run after the bagpiper. That's all.
yes,
Only
yes,
when we just go down to the sea, then only we understand that, oh, we were mistaken.
yes. Mm.
That has become the reality these days. So
Very
bringing
good.
back pratnya to our daily life is the is the first priority.
True.
Being intelligent. Okay, anyway, shall we stop today?
Yes, sir. We'll conclude for today.
Okay, okay. Shubharatri to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Shubharatri.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shubh.